girls or whether it was with just material things and stuff like that. And eventually that lifestyle began to outpace what I was actually doing. And so, long story short, what happened with me is in 2009, one morning, I still remember it like it was yesterday. It's not a great memory, but it's a necessary memory for me that keeps me where I am today. And that is that June 25th, 2009, I got a knock at my door, and it was two detectives that had a warrant for my arrest.
Wow.
And I had gotten involved in a stock deal to kind of take the business that I was in and kind of, be able to double it and grow it very quickly. And I knew from the get-go that it wasn't right. But I thought because I was me and I was a pretty good guy and everything was going to be okay. Well, long story short, it wasn't okay. In 2009, I went to jail. Had never spent a day in jail in my life. And I remember just how devastating it was. I mean, it was like everything in my life just completely caved on that day. And what happened to me was, at first, I would say for about the first couple days that I was incarcerated, I just, it was like a trauma. You almost didn't, it was almost like you were numb. You could hardly feel it. And then I remember this. Only a few days into it, I remember looking around and seeing the other guys and saying to myself, I'm not like these guys. I come from a good background. I'm a decent guy. I just got off track here a little bit. And the next morning, I remember waking up and going down to breakfast, having breakfast, and then spending a little time there and then back up to my cell. And as I went back to my cell, I just remember having this incredible burden on me. I didn't know what it was at the time. I thought at first, well, I'm grieving because of my situation, my circumstances, but it was something different. I had professed to be a Christian my whole life. I'd gone to church almost every Sunday, but I didn't know Christ. I didn't live Christ. I never surrendered my life to Christ. And I just remember that morning, the burden of just literally falling to my knees in my cell and just began weeping and just surrendered my life to Christ. I just said, Lord, I'm so sorry for the way I've lived my life. You have given me so many talents. You've given me so many blessings. So many times I could have praised you and I could have given back to you. And it wasn't about you. It was about me. And I just poured that out to Christ. I just asked for forgiveness. And the most amazing thing happened to me. I had no clue what was going to happen going forward. I ended up doing almost just shy of 2.5 years in prison for my crime. It was a white-collar crime. And so that was when I was in the county jail. And what happened on that morning, though, when that happened, was something became peaceful in my life. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew that God had changed me dramatically that day. And it literally, from that day forward, almost by the hour, especially by the day, but literally by the hour, what began to happen was that everything began to change for me. The way I thought, the way I spoke, words that I would use very crassly, all of a sudden didn't taste good coming out of my mouth anymore. Literally, I would feel the conviction of, Dion, don't talk like that anymore. That's not you anymore. And everything began to change. And the thing that happened to me that was just the most stunning to me was that God used that time. I tell people all the time in my life now that was the most horrific thing that had ever happened to me. It was the most devastating thing. It was a horrible experience from that perspective. But I wouldn't change it for anything. And I tell people that all the time, every day across the country and what I do now. And it was an amazing experience for me, because what God taught me was that I was exactly like those people. Exactly like them. And what it gave me was the ministry to really reach out to those that are hurting and broken. The number one question that I got asked all the time in prison was, can God really forgive me? Dion, this is your first time, and you're going to get out of here, and it's never going to happen again because it scared you, it woke you up, it did all these things. But this is my 5th time. or this is my 4th time or my 7th time, and I've done this, and I just recall just the feeling of being able to relate to men, because I